I'm going to look at Joey. Just for the record, my name is Sergeant Kevin Allen, Kevinallen. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Portland Police Bureau. This call started at about 11:46, just before noon, where North Precinct officers were dispatched to a report of a crash in the 5900 block of Northeast Martin Luther King Jr Boulevard. As officers were en route, they started getting more information that a pedestrian, or two pedestrians actually, had been struck by a vehicle, and that there was an additional crash a couple blocks to the north of that. When officers arrived, they found the two pedestrians that were described in the call. One of them was deceased at the scene in the area of Northeast MLK and Jessup. The next, sorry, I misspoke. The deceased person was found in the area of Northeast MLK and Jarrett. And then the second pedestrian that was also at that location was critically injured and was transported to the hospital by ambulance. And that person is a male and has life-threatening injuries. The officers determined that the vehicle involved in that crash continued north all the way past Ainsworth and had gone over a median and involved in a head-on crash with another vehicle that was coming to the south. So the vehicle in question was driving northbound on MLK and hit a vehicle that was coming south head-on. The driver of the vehicle in question and the driver of the vehicle that was struck were both injured and transported to the hospital. Early prognosis is that the injuries are not life-threatening, but we're still waiting to hear from doctors to confirm that. At this point, the latest information we have is that we only have one other person that has life-threatening injuries from this series of events. So preliminary information is that this was not an intentional act. This was, I don't want to call it an accident because we don't have a full picture at this point of the cause, but I think it's important to note that we don't have any indication right now that this was some kind of attack or intentional act. The preliminary information that our major crash team has determined was it actually started down at MLK and Jessup, where the driver of a gray Ford Escape SUV was traveling at a high rate of speed, went up on a sidewalk, struck the two pedestrians, nearly struck a child that was also on the sidewalk, and then continued to the north, and then went over the median, and then was involved in the head-on crash. That we've talked to the driver of that vehicle. He's one of the people who was transported to the hospital. The only information I can release about him right now is that he's an adult male. So now we're in an investigative phase, and this will take some time. We realize this is a pretty large scene that we're investigating, but it will take some time for us to gather all of the evidence, document everything, and really figure out what took place here. So we appreciate the patience of the community as we work through this. And our honestly first priority is the families that are affected by this. We've had people who are loved ones of the deceased already showing up at the scene. They're devastated, and it's a terrible, tragic situation. So we owe it to them to make sure that we get a full and complete picture of what took place here. And if there's any criminal act or a violation of the law, then we'll consider, along with our partners at the DA's office, what the appropriate outcome will be. But that may take several hours. That's all I have right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can we, just logistically, the two pedestrians that were struck, you mentioned they were both on a sidewalk. Is it this side of the road sidewalk or that side? We heard that it was near a bus stop and people were getting off the bus? Yes.
The two pedestrians, my understanding, they were on a sidewalk right in front of the bank, just south of Jarrett. So there's a sandwich shop and a bank right next to each other on the east side of MLK, and the person went up on the sidewalk on the east side of MLK and then hit the two pedestrians that were on the sidewalk between Jessup and Jarrett, and then the pedestrian ended up to the north of that. The deceased pedestrian ended up to the north of that.
And because I have terrible sense of orientation, this is the east side. You're talking about this sidewalk or the other one?
Yeah, this is facing east. So yeah,
Okay.
where we're standing right now is the east side.
Okay.
I know you said the driver wasn't doing this intentionally. Do you believe this may have been a medical emergency of some kind, or were they driving under the influence? Any kind of context you can add to that?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate because that really is part of the investigation. I can't say with certainty what the cause was, but the early indications are this wasn't an intentional act. And I can only say that based on some preliminary information, evidence at the scene, and statements that were made by the driver. But again, we have to verify. So when somebody explains to us how something happened, it's our job to make sure that it matches up with the evidence that we're finding at the scene, video, on-scene evidence, and any other witness information that we have. And that's another important thing too to point out too, is there were a lot of people around here, and a lot of people saw what happened. And the officers that were initially here described just an absolute chaotic scene where people were obviously traumatized, terrified, and very concerned. And so it's very likely that there are people that have information about what happened. They may have seen something, or maybe they have video or photos or something like that. We need all of that. That's part of the investigation. We need to make sure that we get a full picture from everybody's perspective before we make any final determinations about what took place and if anyone is criminally responsible.
Can you confirm if people have been telling me that the driver had prosthetic legs? Is that something you can confirm, or if it was a handicap sticker on the vehicle, anything along those lines?
Yeah, the vehicle, the driver involved did have handicap. I don't know the extent of it, and I don't want to speculate until I get that confirmed. There's officers at the hospital right now. But when I talk about some of the evidence that we found at the scene, there is an indication that it was a specially modified vehicle for a handicapped driver.
Did the driver tell you that the vehicle had malfunctioned?
I don't want to discuss what he said at this point, because then we're getting into stuff that we still have to verify. And what's important for us is that the information that we're putting out doesn't taint the investigation down the road. We have witnesses that we're still trying to talk to, and we don't want to say something now that allows them to draw a conclusion about what they saw. We want their unbiased perspective about what took place, and so we want to make sure we talk to them first.
You said one other person with life-threatening injuries, so just to confirm, there's the one dead, one with life-threatening injuries, and then two injured here with non-life-threatening, at least for now. It's 4 people involved total?
4 people involved total. I know there was some discussion about other crashes involved, and we have not documented any other crashes. So I think it's fair to say that we had the one crash scene to the south involving the 2 pedestrians on the sidewalk, and then the second crash scene a few blocks to the north. But we haven't documented any others. There are other vehicles that are kind of within our crime scene, and so we're still trying to determine whether or not they were involved in any way.
So over there,
The
it's the
third
2
vehicle,
cars.
though, in the red truck, I mean, you've got 3 vehicles there that are obviously part of the crash.
Yeah.
So
So 2 of them, basically the people who have been hit, is that the 1 and 2 in each in one car, and then obviously you have the driver's car?
The driver was transported. The driver of the Ford Escape was transported for injuries. I don't know about you're talking about the Buick over there?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody was in that car or injured. I was not told that, so I'll have to check back. But the driver of the small pickup truck that was hit head on, that person was transported.
Okay.
Does
And
that help?
Yes,
Okay.
so that there was one other driver that we don't know condition or what happened, or
Well,
did they walk away, or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even think that the crash team has gotten up this far yet. They're starting down there and working their way up yet. So I can't document that for you, but certainly it'll be part of what we look into. I mean, you can see that that car was heavily damaged.
So
The
four
bus
injured,
station-
the 4 injured includes the driver, just to be clear.
Yeah, one of the 4 that was transported was the driver of the Ford Escape that was involved in both crashes. Yeah.
the bus station incident. Can you talk about what you know at this point? Was there a bus that had just stopped? Were the pedestrians exiting the bus?
I don't know if we have documented yet where the pedestrians were coming from or going to, but this is a really busy area. So, I mean, not only do we have buses, and there is a bus right up there. I believe one of the bus drivers is actually a witness. But we have grocery stores, we have a bank, we have a sandwich shop, lots of people coming and going. Obviously, we have a pharmacy right here. So, frankly, it could have been so much worse, too, if you think about the number of people that were here. As tragic as this is, we're gratified that it wasn't worse.
Is he going to be under arrest once he's out of the hospital, or is anything like that on your radar?
That is undetermined at this point. Yeah, I mean, the major crash team will investigate, determine what took place, and if there is criminal liability, then they're going to work with the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office to determine that. I've been told just because of the significance of this crash that the Multnomah County DA's office is actually going to respond to the scene and be a part of the investigation here. So that's not unusual. We do that at times, but certainly this met the criteria for them to come and help us out.
Is this the? I know you guys have provided some data, and if you don't have this offhand, that's fine. But is this the most amount of incident in one crash that we've seen this year? I was terribly.
Yeah, no, I know what you're getting at. I don't. I mean, this is definitely one of the more significant crashes that we've seen so far this year. Of the 20 fatal crashes, I have been, surprised. I think a little bit by the number of pedestrian-involved crashes we've seen this year. I think this is number 8 for the year. If you look at the previous years, we're still down. But when it comes to statistics, I always hesitate to speak too much about trends because every fatality involves a person, and every death affects a family and in our whole community. And so I would not classify it as a win. It's not a win until we have 0 deaths. But our hope is that we'll continue to see a downward trend and no longer see these kinds of tragedies on our streets.
Have all the family been notified at this point?
I'm not sure, but I know that family of who we believe the deceased pedestrian, are here. We have a crisis response team here. They come to major events like this. They're not only do we have police officers assigned, but we have trauma-informed and educated volunteers that come and help families in situations like that. So they are here, and they're doing an amazing job working with these devastated family members.
Can you say the gender of everyone that was hurt and involved, and also if they were all adults?
I did not get the driver of the pickup truck. I didn't check. I know that both of the pedestrians that were struck were adult males, and then there was a juvenile that was very nearly struck, but I don't know if it was a boy or a girl.
Was it taller? Like toddler age child?
I'm not sure. They didn't tell me what age. And then the driver of the Ford Escape has been identified. He's an adult male as well. And then I'm not sure about the other one. Let me double check and get back to you. I don't want to misspeak. Yep, you're welcome.